Changes in the United States during the mid-1800s. One significant change especially was the immigration. During the mid-1800s, Ireland experienced a great potato famine. Since potatoes were the staple of the Irish diet, over 2 million people of the Irish population died during this. When this did happen, it caused many of them to flee to the United States and start a new life there, where there would be plenty of food. In the 1850s, millions of Germans also immigrated to the United States. They came because of a surplus of population in Europe, and they came for land, freedom of church, no aristocracy, and 3 meat meals a day. Because of the immigration, Catholicism became a major faith. Americans began to hate immigrants, and even violence sometimes erupted. However, as time went on, immigrants became less disliked and were crucial to economic expansion. Improvements in transportation also took place during this time period. They were needed for quicker movement of raw materials across the United States. Highways and steamboats were the most influential. The Lancaster Turnpike was a road that was built to link Philadelphia to Lancaster, PA, and to help expand westward. The Cumberland Road, also known as the National Road, connected Maryland and Illinois. In 1807, Robert Fulton invented the Clermont, the first steamboat, and by the 1830s, steamboats had become common. Steamboats caused an increase in U.S. trade because there was no longer concern for weather and water current. This helped southern and western economies to develop. Governor DeWitt Clinton established the Erie Canal between Lake Erie and the Hudson River. The Erie Canal shortened the time of travel and the expense of travel. Cities began to grow along the canal and food prices dropped. In 1828, the first railroad in the United States was built, the Iron Horse. At first, trains were not constructed well. Most had poor brakes. People were originally opposed because trains caused fires to houses, and many were afraid that they would cause the Erie Canal to lose money. However, by 1860, 30,000 miles of railroads were established in the United States, and 3/4 of those were located in the North. All in all, changes in transportation and infrastructure helped to connect the United States together. Steamboats and railroads allowed for easier transportation to and from the South and West. More canals led to increased trade. Changes in women's mindset also helped to contribute to the changes in the United States. Women played a huge role. A leading part was with decisions to have fewer children. This newly found confidence in women was called domestic feminism because it represented the growing power and independence of women during the cult of domesticity. The U.S. wanted to become an industrial giant because land was cheap while money for investment in raw materials was plentiful. Great Britain did not have consumers for factory-scale manufacturing, while the United States' numbers were increasing. Great Britain's factory system was also now competing with the United States' industries. Samuel Slater was known as the father of the factory system. He discovered the machinery used in the British factories. Then he fled to the United States and built the first cotton thread spinner in the United States in Pawtucket, Rhode Island. Eli Whitney built the first cotton gin in 1793. It was 50 times more effective than separating cotton seeds by hand. This boosted the Southern economy and expanded the cotton system westward. The Embargo Act of the War of 1812 inspired home manufacturing. After the peace treaty again, many American factories were forced closed because they could no longer compete with established British companies. The Tariff of 1816 was then passed. It was to protect the U.S. economy. Eli Whitney also introduced interchangeable parts in 1850. This was the basis for the assembly line. The assembly line flourished in the North, while in the South it was the cotton gin. In 1846, Elias Howe and Isaac Singer invented the sewing machine, which became the foundation for the clothing industry. The new factory system also affected workers. Hours were long, wages were low, and conditions were unsafe and unhealthy. Child labor also became increasingly popular. In fact, 50% of the labor force in industry was children. Later, in the mid-1800s, 10-hour days were established. Labor unions were also established to control the factories and the workers. Another important invention during this time period was the telegraph, invented by Samuel Morse. It connected the business world. His original message, which was tapped out from 40 miles between Washington to Baltimore, said, "What hath God wrought?" He brought distantly separated people closer in communication. Several inventions during the 1800s helped to improve agriculture. John Deere invented the steel plow, which cut through hard soil and was pulled by horses. It made plowing the fields extremely easier for farmers. Cyrus McCormick invented the mechanical mower reaper to harvest the grain. Both of these inventions led to the large-scale production and growth of cash crops. This led to the North producing more food than the South, which grew cotton. All in all, there are many changes during the 1800s that affected U.S. society and economy. Immigration changed society by bringing different religions over and new ideas from their home country. They also eventually helped aid to economic expansion. Changes in transportation also affected the U.S. society and economy. Highways and railroads made transportation much quicker and easier, especially for the transport of raw materials. Canals and steamboats made water travel much more convenient, and this in turn increased trade, which boosted the economy. Women's change in mindset affected U.S. society because it brought about the idea of domestic feminism and gave them more control in family life. New inventions and changes helped to improve the U.S. economy and improve trade, because goods were able to be produced much quicker. The cotton thread spinner and later the cotton gin helped the South to flourish. It expanded the cotton system westward. The assembly line created by Eli Whitney also helped to increase the production of goods. The clothing industry was expanded with the invention of the sewing machine by Elias Howe. Factories originally were terrible, dreadful places to be, but with time they improved slightly. Inventions in communication with Morse's telegraph helped communication between two places far apart. Lastly, inventions in agriculture helped immensely to improve the economy. The steel plow and the mower reaper both helped lead to large-scale production and growth of cash crops.